Hello and welcome to ELL Plus with me, Jasmin Dyer.
And me, Areej Zayat. Coming up in this week's programme.
Junior doctors strike again in protest against proposed contract changes.
Plans for road closures stir up debate among Hackney residents.
20 years on, we remember the victims of the Docklands bombing.
And Yinka Shonibar MBE talks disability at a new exhibition.
This week, junior doctors went on strike for the second time over new contracts that would see them working longer hours.
They say the plans are dangerous for patients, but Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt says he'll impose them anyway. Ninkambaya has this report.
Our NHS, save our NHS! Save our NHS, save our NHS!
Save our NHS, not safe, not fair, were the slogans of the day at the second junior doctors' strike of 2016.
The workforce is already at breaking point and morale is at an all-time low, and we feel really, really demoralised by all of this. My concern is that a lot of doctors will end up leaving alongside other healthcare professionals, and it will be the start of the demise of the NHS.
Doctors from around the UK are rallying against proposed changes that would include longer working hours and weekend work with no extra pay. Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt has accused the BMA of misleading junior doctors. It is incredibly disappointing the totally irrespective way the BMA has behaved in refusing to sit down and talk about how we can improve patient care and spreading misinformation.
Jeremy Hunt has been invited several times onto Channel 4 News to debate junior doctors live, to have a live, proper TV interview where questions aren't edited for him beforehand.
In spite of doctors' efforts, Hunt today announced that he intends to impose the new contracts in England, leaving the way open for fresh strike action in future. Two-thirds of the public support the strike and advocate fairer working conditions for junior doctors.
They want to make the NHS like in America, where the rich people can pay, have the best, medical help, but the poor people have nothing and die.
No ifs, no buts, no junior doctor cuts.
The doctors' morale has been very low and the tensions have been high in a working environment which is already very difficult. So what is going to be done about these long hours and the safety of these patients? Ninkambaya, ELL Plus.
Breaking news now, as Transport for London has announced that the East London line between Shadwell and Highbury and Islington will be closed for 9 days.
Katy Bales brings us this update.
Transport disruptions are set to hit East London this weekend, with the closure of the overground service from Shadwell to Highbury and Islington. The line will be closed for 9 days, starting on the 12th of February and running until the 21st of the month. The reason for the disruptions are major works which are taking place around Whitechapel to rebuild the station and create new tunnels for Crossrail services, due to start running in 2018. 50,000 people use the East London line every day, and the loss of the service will affect commuters, residents and local businesses alike. Replacement buses between Highbury and Islington and Shadwell will be in use, but local residents will also have to find alternative methods of transport to get around. Olivia Abbott, a local pop-up coffee shop owner, says it will affect her business greatly.
Yeah, the Crossrail works are going to affect my business because I'm going to close for the week because it's also half term, so I thought it'll be pretty quiet here. So since I pay rent to the council to be here on a daily basis, I thought it would be better to close. I know a lot of my customers have been saying that their journey's going to be really difficult, and I suppose the other lines will also be really busy.
Shadwell to Whitechapel is a transport lifeline for East London. 9 days without it is obviously a huge inconvenience for the local community and small business holders. But is the promise of Crossrail worth it? Katy Bales, ELL Plus.
Hackney Council is consulting on plans to close some roads to vehicles in London Fields area.
It's led to heated debate among local residents, and some anti-car campaigners have even received threats. Our reporter Boglarka Lakosh has more.
And this is not even Russia.
To close or not to close? That's the question Hackney Council is asking about its roads. The scheme aims to decrease traffic in the area by diverting commuters' cars to neighbouring roads. Cyclists and pedestrians would be said to benefit from the quieter streets. The Fume-Free Streets campaign supports the plans. Campaign leader Brenda Madj sees them as a starting point for bigger changes in the borough.
Local driving will be a little longer. However, it's a minor inconvenience compared to the huge benefits and advantages to the area. And in fact, we hope that it will also encourage local people, rather than driving for short distances, to walk and cycle. The scheme would improve conditions also. It would be very good for local children who will be able to walk to school.
Reaction to the plans has been mixed. Some local people would prefer not to see the diversions get put into gear. Brenda says some have even tried intimidation tactics. So apparently Brenda is not the only one who has received these anonymous, alarming messages. In fact, some others have received even worse. For example, the front door of one of the local residents was doused with motor oil, sending a quite clear message. Local blogger Rachel Afanasieff has been researching the impact of the proposals. She spoke to me via social media saying, "At present, the scheme is flawed. It moves traffic off some roads which are already very quiet onto roads that are already too busy." Local resident Janine Richards is also opposed.
The ideas behind it are coming from a good place. It's not necessarily going to really help much where it's most needed.
Hopefully, all sides will have a chance to be heard before the Council's final decision, ensuring the smoothest journeys for car drivers, cyclists and pedestrians. Boglarka Lakosh, ELL Plus.
And now, Andrea Polanco brings us the latest news.
18-year-old Lewis Johnson has been identified as the teenager who died after a moped collided with a van on Tuesday. Johnson and another young man were in a moped and failed to stop for police. A chase ensued, ending with a crash at Clapton Common in Hackney. Johnson was pronounced dead at the scene shortly before 1 p.m. The other teenager was hospitalized and is in a serious but stable condition at an East London hospital. The Met referred the incident to the IPCC, which has launched an investigation into the crash. Lewisham Council is looking to tackle the borough's housing crisis through a pop-up village. The 4-story building on Lewisham High Street will have workshops, retail space and flats that will provide temporary homes for 24 families and space for community and businesses' use. Sir Steve Bullock, Mayor of Lewisham, said this type of housing can be delivered for 2/3 of the cost and in 2/3 of the time of a building constructed using traditional methods. For the first time in 10 years, Hackney is considering raising council tax to make up for cuts in government funding. This would generate £1.3 million to fund services such as home care, day centres and travel cards for older and disabled residents. Hackney is set to lose £38 million in government funding over the next 4 years. Since 2010, the borough has lost 50% of its central government funding. This issue will be debated as at a meeting of the full council early next month.
Coming up after the break, an ELL Plus investigation into dangerous skincare products.
And we remember the Docklands bombing of 1996.
Welcome back to ELL Plus. Our top story today, Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt says he will impose a new contract on junior doctors in England this summer. That's in spite of 2 strikes in protest at changes to their working conditions.
And coming up after the sport, we go to a new exhibition hosted by artist Yinka Shonibar.
But first, trading standards are warning people to be on the alert over a dangerous skin cream, which ELL can reveal is being sold online. This is despite a clampdown banning it from local shops. Our correspondent, Amanda Alexander, has been investigating and joins us now. Amanda, what is the problem with the cream and can people still get hold of it?
Phaser Beauty Cream was seized by trading standards in Tower Hamlets because it was found to contain high levels of hydrochlorine as well as mercury. Hydrochlorine can lead to breakdown of your melanin, which can lead to skin cancer, and mercury can also lead to liver damage. The cream, however, is not available in the shops because of trading standards enforcement. However, I was able to purchase it online.
Oh, the name? Can you tell us the name?
Phaser Beauty Cream, and I purchased it through Amazon India. Now, I contacted Trading Standards about this because since they enforced everything in the stores, what's happening here? And they said if a company's overseas, they have no enforcement jurisdiction. But if a company's selling it over here, then they can do. So the word on the street is, if you've been using this cream, stop. If you have been using this cream and you have concerns about your health, go immediately to see your GP.
Great, so this is all what the consumers can do.
That is all what they can do, but also what trading standards do. They do launch national campaigns to warn consumers through the Chartered Trading Standards Institute, which is supported by the local trading standards to make people aware not to use this product.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank you,
Amanda.
Thank you.
Tuesday marked 20 years since an IRA bomb was set off near South Quay Station in Canary Wharf, claiming 2 lives.
A memorial was held at the station to remember the victims of that and other terrorist attacks over the years. Our reporter Simisola Jasmin Jọláòṣò spoke to both a survivor and relatives of one of the victims.
I'm a survivor of the bomb and I was quite badly injured, but I lost my 2 friends.
This is Jonathan Ganesh, one of the survivors of the Docklands bombing. On February 9, 1996, at exactly 7:01 p.m, a 1,000-kilogram bomb made up of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and sugar exploded in a lorry parked a few meters from South Quay Station, killing 2 and injuring 40. 20 years on, the effects of the bombing are still being felt.
I remember waking up in the rubble. I dug my way out of the wreckage and rubble. It was complete darkness, but you could still see, I think there was moonlight, but there's still dust in the air, and I was wondering where everything had gone. Because the shops had gone, there's people lying in the road, and my radio, I was a security guard at the time, and my radio, I couldn't hear what they were saying on the radio, and I thought my radio had been damaged. But actually, it wasn't the radio that had been damaged, it was my ears that had been damaged. That's why I couldn't hear properly.
Families and friends gathered to remember those killed and injured from the bombing, which itself marked the end of a nearly 2-year ceasefire by the Irish Republican Army. The multi-faith ceremony was also open to those affected by the 1983 Harrods bombing, the July 7 attacks, and the Mumbai and Paris attacks.
Say prayers for our faiths, but to say prayers from our faiths, for people of all faiths and people of none.
Today is more about the atrocities that go on in the world and how it doesn't matter where you come from, you're still a human being, and if you collectively join together, you can make difficult situations like what happened 20 years ago, and you can make that a lot easier for yourself and for the people around you.
Inam Bashir and John Jeffries, who were 29 and 31 at the time of the explosion, were the only 2 killed while working at a shop directly opposite the station. James McArdle was convicted of conspiracy to cause explosions in 1998, but was released a mere 2 years later under the Good Friday Agreement. The family still feel hurt.
Bring them back and serve your time, because at the end of the day it's very difficult for us as victims to accept our killers walking free and we're still suffering.
Michelle?
The release of doves at the memorial was a symbol of peace and of a desire to end all terrorist violence.
In memory of my friends Inam and JJ and all victims of terrorism who have suffered throughout the world, and I hope as it travels is send a message of peace and hope to all humanity.
Simisola Jasmin Jọláòṣò, ELL Plus, Canary Wharf.
Now it's time for sport with Madj Buchto.
Crystal Palace is hosting Watford this Saturday. The Eagles need a victory to calm their supporters. The club hasn't won a Premier League game since last December, but it's not only the results making fans unhappy. Actually, they're unhappy because the club's decision to raise tickets prices for next season. Some season ticket holders will need to pay more than £500 in 2017 to get their seats at Selhurst Parks. Regarding Saturday's game, Crystal Palace won their away game last September against Watford, and let's see if they will make it again. Let's talk about Millwall. Steve Morrison is to stay at the club. The 32-year-old striker extended his contract with the Lions. The new deal will keep him at the club until 2017. Morrison scored 10 goals in 37 appearances this season for Millwall. And to end this sports brief with boxing, good news for boxing fans in Tower Hamlets. Another night of boxing will take place at York Hall in Bethnal Green on the 27th of February. 22 bouts and 2 title fights are scheduled for this show. Dan Woodgate will take on Wadi Camacho for the British Southern Area Cruiserweight title, while Tamoka Musha will face Tommy Tier for the Southern Area Welterweight belt. And that's all what I have for you today.
An exhibition encouraging artists to express life through the lens of disability is on show at Yinka Shonibar's guest project space in Hackney. Jooyoon reports.
Yinka Shonibar, MBE, a Goldsmiths graduate who's the patron of Shape Arts, is hosting its annual open exhibition with the theme My Life. The aim is to encourage both disabled and non-disabled artists to meet and merge, clash, combine, and generally exchange views and ideas about areas which are often sidelined with an artistic debate. The final artworks were carefully selected for the exhibition by a panel of judges including Yinka Shonibar himself, including the winning art piece.
Welcome to the studio. This is my studio, for those of you who don't know or you've never been here before. Now this space is actually about giving opportunities to other artists. And the winner is Kate Murdoch.
But it is really about encouraging artists to think about their work, to think about exhibiting their work, and to put their work up for to be critiqued.
What makes this exhibition's idea special is its connection to Yinka himself as a disabled person. He uses individuals as well as himself to create his masterpieces. Despite being in a wheelchair, Yinka's optimism and motivation kept him going, and admirers thought his work grew more beautiful.
There's some very moving pieces, particularly there's one which has the letters that you have in an eye examination, and I think it says 1985 and 2015, and one's very clear and the other's completely blurred.
I made this sculpture because I've got a few friends who have mastectomies, and I used to be a nurse, so I've also dealt with that sort of thing, and then I trained to become an artist later in life. And the people that I know that have mastectomies, they were just so amazing. They just still were incredibly feminine. They were still full-on women, but still had to look at themselves all the time with a mastectomy, knowing that cancer could come back at any time. And I admire them. I just wanted to make a piece of art about how much I admired them and how they had to live with it.
The free exhibition opened on Thursday, February 4th, and runs until Sunday, February 21st, at Guest Projects in Andrew Street. People's reactions towards this exhibition have been serious-minded, satirical, and often ambiguous. It has allowed them to look at disability from a different perspective through the art that's being presented here in Yinka Shonibar's studio. Jooyoon, ELL+, Hackney.
And that's almost all we have time for today. Thank you for watching.
There's just time to wish you a happy Chinese New Year with these pictures from Croydon, courtesy of our correspondent, Grace Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Joy, monkey and child, and a happy new year.